Whatever you might be going through and wherever you might be, this is Omar Serrano with the Tilted Lawyer Podcast. I'm here to take your mind off of things. Yes, I'm an attorney. No, I'm not giving you legal advice. We're going to sit and talk like people, as these are the candid thoughts of one practicing attorney, and it's after hours. So have a seat. Feel free to have a drink and join me. Let's get started.
All right, Melissa, this is your first appearance ever on the new segment that we've been doing, Family Law After Dark. This is where we give general family law advice to the public that requests. So this first one basically says, can anyone tell me how I can get divorced when I have absolutely no clue where my husband is? Oh, I got the answer to that one. Haven't seen him in 3 years. We do share a daughter. He does not pay child support. His family doesn't know where he is. I just want this over with. We split 7 years ago, but I was young and broke and couldn't afford a divorce. Now I'm able to. He's been MIA for 3 years. I wouldn't even know where to post in the paper, and the magistrate court was no help.
Do you want to answer, or do you want me to answer?
Can you answer it? Give it a shot.
Okay, background for this. I have been working for Omar for almost 5 years. We handle mainly family law and child support. So one of my specialties would be divorces. So if I could answer it, it goes this way. If you really don't know where your significant other is, being husband or wife, in California, there's something that's called request to serve by publication. You can actually ask the judge to serve your significant other by posting at a courthouse or publication in a local newspaper. Local newspaper would mean a newspaper that circulates in the county or city where you are intending to divorce. So for example, for purposes of this, let's say you are intending to divorce in LA County, more specifically in Stanley Moss Courthouse, which is in North Hill in Los Angeles. You would search which are the local newspapers in that area, and you can post that you're intending to get divorced and you're looking for X person. If you don't want to do that, you can also ask the court to give you permission to post the paperwork. On their postings, they have a section for that. You could just need to post it for 30 days, and if nobody answers, you're good to proceed. Same with the newspaper. It needs to circulate. I think it's 2 to 3 times. It really depends on the county. Sometimes they ask for more. And after that happens, you're free to follow up with the course of getting divorced.
That was spoken like such a paralegal. I really appreciated that response. That was pretty good. That was pretty good. Not bad. Yes, there's something called publication, service by publication. So if you can't find this guy, what is his last known address? You have to basically do a statement of due diligence. And you say your magistrate wasn't able to help. I assume that you're not in California. But in California, the way that it will work, like Melissa was pointing out, is, well, I've searched high and low to figure out where this guy is, and these are the steps that I've taken. I've hired a private investigator. I've looked to his next of kin. I've tried to contact his family, but this is the last known address, and I have no other recourse, but I need to be able to proceed. And the court will say, all right, well, you've done your due diligence. I will allow you to post a ad. It's called service by publication, and Melissa gave a pretty good description of it, in the local newspaper of his last known address. If that's your address, then that's your address. But then it gets posted, and then if he doesn't respond, then you can proceed by default, and then you get to get divorced. And if he ever comes back, then, I guess the bigger question is, how do you get him to pay for child support if you don't know what his income is? That's going to be the tougher part of it. But there is also other things that you can do specifically related to parental abandonment. If you ever had the occasion to date a new young person or old person, and they decided that they wanted to marry you, you can actually go through this whole adoption process where he could adopt your child, and we would strip the parental rights of this guy. We've had cases like that, obviously, because Melissa knows exactly what to do in that situation, but we're going to move on. That's a pretty simple one. But let's get into a juicier one. All right, we'll go in order of difficulty, I guess. So here's this one. All right. So I want a divorce because my wife doesn't want her son to be legally mine. I don't understand. So I've been in her son's life for the past 4 years, since he was 2. He already calls me dad, all that's left is to make it legal. But my wife thinks that decision to make it legal should be up to her son, but wants to wait till he is old enough to make that decision, which I think is completely silly, right? I think that's kind of ludicrous. What do you think about that, Melissa?
Yeah, it's kind of weird.
All right, let's continue. She also doesn't want anyone. She also doesn't want any more kids, which I've come to terms with. I'm at a loss. I don't know what to do. I also heard from her friend she doesn't want to make it legal because if we divorce, she doesn't want to have to fight me for custody. Well, that doesn't really make a difference, does it? Does that make a difference, Melissa? Almost called you Liana. She's going to fight you for custody regardless of whether or not you guys get divorced. So, and let's clear the air on that. There's an edit here. She changed her mind about wanting more kids because of her career. I accepted it and we compromised on letting me adopt him, but now she's stalling. The biological dad has never been in the picture. She doesn't even know who he is. Update, Jesus. Update, she has agreed to let me be the legal guardian in case anything happens to her, and we will continue to wait till he is old enough to decide if he wants to be adopted. This isn't really a legal question. Do you want a divorce? Kid is not yours. She's acting kind of sketchy.
Yes, she is.
She's got a sketchy past. What are you doing with her? Now, here's the tough part for him. It's like he's involved in this child's life.
Disclaimer, Omar's not trying to give any relationship advice.
Well, I do it anyway. I do it anyway from a family law perspective. And also I'm old. And so, I'm older than you. But think about what you're doing. You have basically positioned yourself as the object of what so many other people I hear are searching for. Somebody to come and resurrect the family structure because it didn't work out with their original ex, and accepted her child that is not yours, and have gone back and forth about whether or not she wants to have children with you. And you're willing to do that and take that place, take the role of stepdad essentially, and you want to legalize it, but she doesn't want, she's giving you a lot of bullshit. She wants your kid to decide. If you were to ask your 5-year-old right now, hey, do you want me to be your permanent dad? Of course. And he'd be all happy and he'd jumping up and down in your arms. How old is this boy? Did she say?
From what it sounds in the post, I
6.
would say he's like 5 or 6 exactly.
Yeah. So the 6-year-old would be thrilled if you were given the title of permanent father. He would be overjoyed. He would be, I can't even explain to you how happy he would be. And to suggest that that's going to change at 12, 16, 18 years old. Do you know how many young boys are out there without fathers that are clamoring to have a father figure in their life? And then this dipshit lady is over here saying, no, let's make him decide when he's 12. Like it's going to change anything. Number one, no offense, man, but I don't think that she is really all that interested in keeping you around.
I would agree.
She's leaving herself out at every stage, but I don't understand. Am I a dick for wanting a divorce because my wife doesn't want her son to be, but then he says that they don't want to get married because they want to avoid. I see what he's saying. He doesn't want a divorce because of the custody issues. Well, that might not be his decision. If she wants to divorce him, she's going to get a divorce. So this is happening regardless. So look, it doesn't sound to me like she's very invested in you. You look to be the convenient option in the moment. But beyond that, you were not what she was looking for. It doesn't sound. And the fact that she doesn't even know who this guy's dad is, this boy's dad is alarming. It's irresponsible to say, if, giving her the absolute benefit of the doubt, at the very least, it's irresponsible. What do you think about this lady, Melissa?
You want my point of view as a paralegal or as
No, as a person.
As a person?
This is the casual part of the show.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah, she's insane. She doesn't know at what point is her in her life she is right now, and she doesn't know where she's going. Because why on earth would you let a man raise your son if you have no intention of marrying him or being a part of his permanent life, and just like, oh no, I'm just gonna let him decide later on if he wants to be your son or not.
It
Come on.
it doesn't say how old this lady is, but I imagine she's probably younger.
Me too.
Either way, no, you're not an asshole because you want to get a divorce.
Not at all.
Do it, but if you're gonna cut ties now. I'm thinking of the little boy. It's gonna hurt him the most, honestly.
Kids are always the most vulnerable and hurt part in separation.
Well, that, and then it's like, even if he's of the best intentions, even if he like is just all out for this family and doing all the right things and saying all the right things and being the provider and, you know, whatnot, at some point she's going to find some bright, shiny new object and kick him to the curb and say, oh, I just need space because you just don't understand me, or you're not giving what I need, or you're not,
It's not you,
whatever.
it's me.
Yeah, some bullshit. And then he's going to be kicked to the curb, and then all this time invested in this young boy is going to be erased because a new guy's coming in. It's heartbreaking, but this is the path that this lady has chosen for her son. And it's hard for me to say that because she's not here to defend herself. It's just the way that this guy describes it. It's what it seems like. And you and I, Melissa, know better than anybody that there's always three sides to the story.
Yes.
We get our client's story, and then we find out more information. Then we have to ask questions like, why don't you tell me this other thing? And so giving her the benefit of the doubt, if you want a divorce, go. Now's the time. Do it. You have my permission.
Sooner than later.
Okay, moving on. In dire need of legal advice, and this guy posted a novel. Let's see what he has to say. I am in dire need of legal advice from an attorney. Luckily, I am Johnny on the spot. I'm going through a divorce, and I feel like my attorney is not helping me in any way, shape, or form,
I know where this is going to.
and that he is just in it for the money. This sucks that it is so much, but I hope someone will take the time to read this so that I know my actual rights. So we were married for 6 years. This man had nothing when I met him. I helped him fix his credit.
Okay, this is a woman talking about a man.
Yes. My son and I helped him establish and get his business going. Probably an older woman, because she has a son that's helping him get his business going. So to make a long story short, after 6 years of marriage, he cheated on me with my ex-boyfriend. I read that correctly. Cheated on him with her ex-boyfriend.
Okay.
And from my understanding, South Carolina is an adultery state. This lady's in South Carolina,
Yes.
which means alimony. Plus, my son filed for his LLC for his business 2 years after we were married, and his business was making great money. So when he left, he took everything, 3 vehicles, all the yard toys, side-by-sides, 4-wheelers, dirt bikes, etc. I'm starting to get the picture here. However, the man had a tax debt that he created the year we got married. So when we filed our taxes, he did not claim a 1099 and created this debt, his debt. I have proof that the year we were married, I had another house that I was paying for. Yes, we got married in October, but my lease was not up until December of that year. I have proof that I was W-2 and you got a refund for the. Okay, this is a client that believes that all of her evidence is irrelevant and has no idea about how the law works.
Mm-hmm.
But let me continue. And clients like that are usually the ones that most feel like they're not being served by their attorney. So, all right. So in South Carolina, it's not a community property state. They kind of do what Colorado does, which is marital property is divided by the court in an equitable manner.
So half and half?
No, it's usually, and look, she's going to have to consult with her South Carolina attorney. I can't really give legal advice as it pertains to South Carolina. But usually, historically, when you have an equity state, which is what that is, you get in what you put in.
Yeah.
So if there is consequences for adultery that relate to that, then that would be evaluated under the spectrum of equity, meaning they're going to do what's fair. So whatever penalties for adultery there are, and I don't know what they are in South Carolina, so she's on her own with that. But in terms of the division of property, and she's talking about that, that's really what she's getting at. W-2, I got a refund for that year, and the transcript to prove the 1099 he did not file on. I have proof that his business was successful when he left. He has accumulated debt since he left because he thinks I shouldn't get anything from his company. However, when I filed for divorce, even though he cheated and done all these things, the only thing I asked was for him to take his name off the house, and he could keep the divorce, keep the business and everything he took. Again, long story short, he said no and has been fighting the divorce. When we went to mediation, they literally had me convinced to refinance the house and get enough to pay his tax debt just to get my divorce. Then in the end, he chose not to settle. So now my attorney keeps telling me to re-offer the mediation result of me refinancing the house and paying off his tax debt to let him keep his business because he doesn't want to start litigating my case. That might not be the case, miss. It might just be the case that what you're asking for and what you're trying to do, you're not going to get. If you're trying to litigate in the terms of equity, they're going to look at it and as to what's fair. And what you think is fair and what the law says is fair is two different things. You're awfully upset and angry with this guy for the adultery. That's fine. But that doesn't change the fact that they have to characterize and divide this property according to the law as it relates to equitable principles. So you disagreeing with what your attorney's doing, it's not that he doesn't want to start litigating your case. It's just that it's going to be very costly to do what you're asking him to do. And what the mediator has suggested seems to be the most equitable results. And look, I'm not going to sit here and impugn the character of your attorney. If your attorney is telling you stuff that you should probably just take the mediation result, when I tell my clients that, it's not because I don't want to litigate. If I disagree with mediators' agreements all the time. Melissa, how many times do I tell my client that, oh, this mediator is full of shit? You should get way more than that, or, something different.
A handful of times?
Yeah. Not very often, but a lot.
Not very often, yeah, but it happens.
Definitely more than a handful of times. I never agree 100% with the mediator.
That's true. We always try to modify it a little.
But when I do agree with the mediator, I'll tell my client that, look, you're not going to get better than this. If you want to pay me $30, $40, $50, $100,000 to take this guy to trial, I'll do it and I'll take your money. But you know what? You're going to get the same thing that you got in mediation. So if you really want to go that route, then fine. It's not that he doesn't want to litigate. Trust me, he wants to litigate your case because it's way more money in his pocket.
Mm-hmm.
More attorney fees for you.
Litigation is always more costly than going with what the mediator says. And clients often believe that it's not, but it is.
I'll tell you what. If you are wanting to hire an attorney for a divorce case, and not all of you need an attorney to complete your divorce.
That's another thing.
There's a small percentage that do, and it's for situations like this. A cheap divorce in the state of California is something like $5,000. And that's not going to get you through a trial.
No.
That's not going to get you through litigating the finer points of characterizing specific items of property.
That covers the bare basics.
If you want to litigate all of those issues, you're looking at probably $100,000 of attorney fees and costs from one side. If he hires an attorney,
another.
And guess what? Both of you guys are going to be fighting to have the other pay the other's attorney fees. And at the end of all of it, even if you win your big case, you're not going to get anything. All that money is going to the attorneys.
It's literally going to fees.
If your attorney is advising you to take the mediator's settlement or push that settlement, it's probably for a good reason. And you should probably do that. If you really wanted to fight over all of these things, and look, I don't know what to make of him cheating on you with your ex-boyfriend. These things happen, but you are making emotional decisions that are going to cost you lots of money. It is your American rights. It is your right as a human being, not even just American, to litigate this. If this is what you want to do, just be prepared. You're going to have to pay lots of money to do it. these are triable issues. I'm looking at this is like a 2-month trial. This is like a case where this attorney is going to have you as a client for the next 3 or 4 years. How much do you think you're going to pay in attorney fees for that? It's not going to be $5,000, I'll tell you that much.
No.
So if it means that much to you, by all means, litigate it. If it's not that big of a deal and you could find a common middle ground and settle the case and maybe walk away and move on with life without, having lost too much out of it, then, that's probably the best option, not only for your wallet, but for your spirit.
And I can make another observation on that. You may hire an attorney with a judge's order for the other party to pay your attorney fees, and you may think that that's going to cover everything. It's not going to.
Melissa, I didn't hear a word that you just said. You're going to have to repeat that for me.
Dominic, did you hurt me?
I just completely zoned out when you were saying something important. What did you just say?
I wanted to make an observation that even if you get an order from a judge saying that the other party needs to cover your attorney fees, and then you hire an attorney with that order, that's not going to cover everything.
Oh, well, yeah, that's true. And then there's no guarantee that you're going to win on that request, because the standard is usually, does he have the ability to pay?
No. I'm talking if he or she already has the order. A lot of people believe that if they already have the order and then they go hire somebody like, oh no, it's solved for life.
Well, in that case, then you just file another motion to, there's extra attorney fees and costs. You can still handle that through litigation. But good luck winning that motion.
Exactly.
Is the question.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another one. We got a little bit of time. This one is from Fresno. It says, my relative is getting divorced. The spouse cheated on him. Well, guess what? In California, in Fresno, nobody gives a shit.
Nobody cares. That's Kern County.
Very sad all around. 2 young kids. He says he can't afford a divorce attorney, but all families in agreement that he needs one. So who is a good divorce attorney in Fresno surrounding area who fought for you and your interest? I know literally nothing about divorce law, and if there's different types of lawyers for more, all right, I get what they're saying.
Good news about that. Omar also does Kern County.
I don't do Kern County ever. I will never do Kern County.
Yes, he used to.
I've done it once and never again. You know how far of a drive that is?
Of course I do.
Well, it depends. I'll just say this. The issues in this case are relatively straightforward. 2 young kids, and you got family members trying to advise this guy to get an attorney, a divorce attorney. That's probably because she's trying to keep the children, custody and visitation issues.
And there's conflict.
Well, they don't like each other, and then she's probably not letting him see the kids and all of those things. If that's the case, then yeah, you're going to want to need a good attorney, because most of the time, people that are in pro per, when they try to go and fight for, time with their children, they make the wrong arguments. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes I just want 50-50 across the board. And, well, how are you going to do that? You live 8 hours away. And then there's not a reasonable plan or reasonable anything for why the judge would change the status quo. And so if it's truly a case of she's trying to keep the kids from him, then number one, he needs an attorney just to let him know, look, if this is what you really want to do with your kids, you really want to be a 50-50 parent, then you're going to have to make sure that these things are in place. You live close enough where it's feasible. There's not going to be any issues with the geography as it pertains to where the child is attending school. California law, luckily, presumes that there should be a 50-50 alignment with the parents. The only reason that we don't is because of work schedules, geography, distance of travel.
Extenuating circumstances.
Yeah. And so in this case, if that's what she's doing and those things are not factored in, he's at least going to want an attorney to basically put together a plan that makes sense, that a judge is going to sign off on it. If he goes in there and starts trying to spout off nonsense about she cheated on me and therefore this and she's this and that and she's not letting me see, a judge is going to write him off within 30 seconds.
I've had that argument a handful of times, and it's always the same outcome.
Well, we get those, we hear that a lot, but we have to redirect our clients, say, look, I know that you want to say all of these things, but this has to be a very child-centric argument. If you want to keep on spouting off about how she's with like a different man every week, number one, that's none of your business. The judge is going to tell you that's none of your business.
Mm-hmm.
As long as she's keeping the child safe and she's not bringing these men around the women or these men around the child, or somehow neglecting the child is not an abuse issue, they're not a substance abuse issue, then we're not going to start talking negative about your ex. Every argument that you make, if you want custody and visitation, has to be focused on the child, child-centric arguments, because that's what the family code in California protects, the best interest of the children.
And I've seen cases where one of the parties takes the mediator as like a counselor, just arguing and speaking about the other person. And that speaks negatively about that party in the report.
Well, I mean, the mediator is not there to be your friend. They're there to make a recommendation to the judge. And, you know, if you don't look, when I say that family law attorneys are like therapists, psychologists, it's because, look, he's going to come to me and he's going to say about how his spouse cheated on him and how she treats him bad and, you know, is always yelling and making him feel bad about himself and whatever.
And I took care of the kids and she didn't do anything.
And he wants me to view him as the saint and she's this evil person. Nobody gives a shit about those arguments. So, all right, you want half the time with your son? Whoever she is, as long as she's not a bad mom in the sense that she's harming the child, all the things that you're saying to me are irrelevant. So let's come up with a plan that positions you to be in this child's life the maximum amount of time. What are your hours of work? What do you have a flexible schedule? On what days could you take the child? What are your plan for extracurriculars? Every argument needs to be focused on the child. If you fail to do that, then you're already dead in the water in your custody and visitation case. And the problem with these cases is so many people want to make these emotional arguments in front of the judge. And what do you think that the judge is constantly listening to when they're having a docket of like 100 different cases every single day? It's mostly people that are bad talking both the other side and wanting to air out their dirty laundry.
And I have sat in court for many, many, many cases, and I've seen the dockets that have presented before our cases, and I would say 99.9% of the time, every single time the parties start bashing each other, the judge is like, please focus.
Yeah, well, they'll just straight up say, you need to stop talking.
Mm-hmm.
And you won't understand why the judge is telling you that. It's because what you're saying to him is irrelevant. And it might be all relevant to you. It might be, you know, you've been wanting to get this off your chest a long time. That's why I say before you go into any family court proceeding, go see a good therapist and get it all off to them. Because the judge doesn't want to hear it. They don't got time for it. You got maybe 5 minutes to make your case before they're moving on to the next thing. And if they give you more than that, something went wrong.
You're lucky.
Yeah. And so that's my advice to this guy. I don't know of any attorneys in the Fresno area. I certainly take those cases, but I'm not advertising to take his case. I don't know who this guy is. But yes, if it's about custody and visitation, assuming that there's not a lot of assets there, I don't know, they haven't really mentioned if they have like a house to divide or anything like that. I'm just assuming because they mentioned 2 young kids before anything else that the big issue is custody and visitation. If that's what it is, he's going to need an attorney, but more importantly, he should get a free consultation from somebody out there just so he knows and understands, based on his specific situation, how he should be approaching this. You can often get that for free. And then if it becomes complicated, if it's more complicated, such as she's trying to alienate the children from him or she's keeping the children away from him, then yeah, get an attorney. A good attorney in Fresno County, the median retainer, I believe, out there is somewhere along the lines of $4,500 to $7,500. And it just depends on the complexity of the case, the strength of the attorney, but do not hire just anybody. Go in and sit there and get a consultation. If it feels right, then do it. Read the reviews, read whatever's out there.
Take your time.
Yeah, take your time. Do not make a rushed decision. But with that, we got to get out of here. Thank you, folks. We will see you guys next week. And by the way, next week, we are going to begin our new offshoot of the show, the Tilted Lawyer Daily, where we come up with these 30-minute episodes talking about the most relevant cases. I'm lining up the content for that. And so we're going to start publishing every day here soon. But our long-form podcast will remain on Thursdays and Fridays when we record. He always comes out on Saturday at noon. That's up to Dominic. If you guys want to have questions, concerns, you want to talk shit to Dominic, he's going to post his email address for any tips, comments, and whatever. And we will see you guys next week. We love you all. Bye-bye.